days last forever, but the years fly by. Absolutely. I say you just stop and make sure that you pause and enjoy what you're in, where you're at. Kind of like the mantra, run the mile you're in. You know, be present where you are right now.
Running with Maverick and Wolfman. Maverick here.
Wolfman here. Don't forget to find us on Facebook, Instagram, X, and of course the big one, YouTube. Make sure you hit the little thumbs up so we can keep bringing great things like this to you. You want to do the intro? You want me to do the intro?
I'll let you do the intro.
Oh, man. Drum roll. Tonight we've got a special guest, arguably the most mentioned person on this podcast. He's a marathoner, coach, friend, mentor, the one and only Jim Schools.
Thanks, guys. Great being back again. And I am the self-proclaimed most mentioned on your podcast. I get excited every time I hear my name mentioned.
It's rare that we don't have someone on the show that doesn't know you. I don't know how it is. Like, we'll pull someone from a whole different area, and they're like, "Yeah, you know him. We know him."
I listen to your podcast when I run from work, so it's up in Binghamton, and I fit in because I'm usually like yelling out answers to questions that you guys are having, and so it's like I'm talking to myself. So I fit in very well in the city of Binghamton. I'm just walking around yelling out into the space.
Yeah,
that's funny.
That is fantastic.
I spent my fair time up in Binghamton as well. So.
Oh yeah, you did. You had a rotation up there.
Yeah.
Yes, it's an interesting place.
So I wanted to ask. First off, I'm going to put you on the spot. Okay. I would like some life advice because you've been around. You've done a lot in your life. Can you give just some generalized advice to our audience, our listeners? It doesn't have to be running necessarily related, but it can be if you would prefer that.
About anything?
Anything, yeah. Whatever you've got up your sleeve.
Well, my philosophy for running the New York City Marathon a couple of weeks ago was simply to enjoy the moment, not put a lot of pressure on myself, not any expectations. I'm in a great city. I have a great opportunity to see different parts of the city that I would never see. And the crowds that are in New York City Marathon are absolutely amazing. And just to enjoy the moment. I too have 4 kids, like both of you guys. And I was just talking with a lady up at work, and she has a little one. And I tell her, I said, the days last forever, but the years fly by. Absolutely. I say you just stop and make sure that you pause and enjoy what you're in, where you're at. Kind of like the mantra, run the mile you're in. Be present where you are right now.
Absolutely.
That's good.
Very good. Enjoy the chapter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, I feel like that's something that takes some time to gather that wisdom. When you're young, you don't appreciate the moment. You're kind of always either getting upset about something or, you're frustrated with something. And there's really no point. You run your race, you run your mileage, you enjoy the day, move on,
Yep.
and it's all good.
Yep. I agree.
I know Wolfman's itching to ask something. I could just tell by his presentation over there.
Now, you kind of tapped a little bit into it, but for our listeners, I mean, we talk regularly, I would say. But for our listeners, the last time we spoke on the show, you had just done Chicago.
Yes.
What have you been doing since then?
Well, I did in the spring. I ran the Bridge Run half marathon in Binghamton, and then this fall I did the Wine Glass Marathon with Wolfman. I mean, that's kind of with Wolfman. We were at the same race. He was
I did
well
see
ahead
you
of me.
before the race.
Yeah, and then I ran the New York City Marathon 4 weeks later.
I was say like a month apart. Yeah.
Yes. Yep.
Oh, so a month apart. Jeez.
Yes.
Overachiever.
In my mind, I think my body is not 59. I still think I'm a lot younger than what I am, but my body likes to remind me that I am, that age. But my humor is like I'm a teenage kid. So
Fantastic. I think we probably all are.
Yeah, but it's better to be that way. It's better to be that way.
Good. So
I remember I had a discussion with the parent. Her daughter was a member of the track team, and her comment to me was something like, "You're nothing but a big kid." And I said, I know you don't mean it this way, but I take that as a compliment.
You can't insult me.
Nice try.
Yeah. Not arguing.
I was kind of laugh because, we'll be eating dinner or something, and I'll get going on a joke, and my wife doesn't always appreciate it. Sometimes she does, but not always. And then I'm like, yeah, I'm just one of the kids. What am I going to do?
Yeah.
I love dad jokes.
Oh, dad jokes are fantastic.
Yeah.
Wolfman definitely likes the dad jokes.
I do. Recently got a shirt says, probably not in this order, but eat donuts, drink beer, tell dad jokes.
That's a great shirt.
Pretty pleased with that shirt. It's very comfy too. So, Jim, which would you say was better, Chicago or New York?
I've been wondering that. I've been going over that in my mind myself, and I'm gonna. New York was better this year. I don't think I fully appreciated Chicago. It was the first time I was ever in Chicago, so I was still kind of overwhelmed by the city as I was running through it.
Yeah.
Not that I know New York City that well, but I am familiar with parts of it. And I think I had a different mindset going into New York, like I said before, just to try to enjoy the race, enjoy what I was doing. And in Chicago, I had a different mindset. But the answer to your question is I like New York. The crowds were ecstatic. I mean, it was absolutely insane. When we got off the Verrazano Narrow Bridge and we ran down 4th Avenue in Brooklyn, I'm telling you, it was like 4 or 5 people deep for 8 miles.
Wow.
Just people yelling and screaming. There was live bands, there was DJs, there was marching bands, there was cheerleaders, there was people hanging off the balconies, yelling and screaming at you. Like it was really phenomenal. And it's really hard to not let yourself get caught up in that and keep the pace kind of under control. Because it was like really exciting. And then the only time on the course that it was quiet was when you're on the bridges.
Oh, okay.
Now, Chicago was the same way too. The streets were packed. I just don't think I had the mindset that I had going into New York. So I definitely enjoyed New York. Like I loved every minute of it going in New York.
That's awesome. So was it like that pretty much the whole way except the bridges?
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
absolutely nuts. And even as far back as I was, they were still there cheering. And I know in New York, like they have a big thing about the last person that finishes. Like I saw video clips of that, and like there was people standing in Central Park cheering on the last person that finished. That started like 8 hours,
Wow.
before they got there.
Is that a competition? Do people like try to be the last person?
Well, no, I don't think so. That's a lot of time to be out there.
There are some races I think that do that though.
Yeah, I would believe that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Whole different kind of endurance.
Yeah. Just stand at the finish line. No, you go. No, you go. No, you go.
And so imagine what the wine glass course is like.
Yeah.
Right. And this is completely opposite. Completely opposite. Wine glass, you go for miles without seeing a person on the side.
Yeah.
And this
Yeah.
one is just like packed.
Wow.
A lot of people believe, and not just runners believe, it's the best day in New York City is the day of the marathon.
That's pretty
And
wild.
I would say, Maverick, if when you do your marathon, this is one that you should do.
It sounds good. I always thought about the opposite. I thought maybe I would do one that was like secluded and there's only like, someone every like mile or something like that. But after running the 10-miler with Wolfman, yeah, I mean, a huge crowd sounds a lot better.
Yeah.
The crowds help for sure.
Oh, it's a big party.
Yeah, I mean, I love New York. New York's great.
Yeah.
The Jackal said the crowds are crazy in New York too.
So then when I got off Queensboro Bridge, it came down onto First Avenue in Manhattan, and that's where my wife and my daughter and her boyfriend, they were standing there waiting for me coming off that bridge, and so that was kind of nice. That was around mile 16, and then I got onto First Avenue, and same thing, just like packed, like all the way up into the Bronx, just completely packed with people, and at that point, like I was really starting to feel the wine glass marathon in my legs. And I'm like, and you look up First Avenue, and it's just like never ending. It's just a stream of humanity of people going up First Avenue. So what I did was I'm gonna run 10 blocks and walk 2, run 10 and walk 2, and that's how I got myself up First Avenue. Because in New York City, it's about 20 blocks per mile. So I figured, all right, I can do this, and that's how I got myself up through First Avenue, and then we got into the Bronx. The Bronx was kind of chill. It was just after the Yankees had lost, and I saw a guy. He had a full Dodgers outfit on, like running the marathon. He had a hat. He had a Dodgers jersey on. I was like, man, you're awful brave. Awful brave.
He probably lost a bet.
Yeah, it could be.
You got to wear this for 3 hours.
You won't run in front of thousands of New Yorkers.
Which, by the way, this was the world's largest marathon ever. Like, there's if you count the wheelchair finishers, there's like 56,000 finishers this year in the marathon.
Yeah, it was enormous, crazy.
So, and after Wine Glass, I was really questioning about whether I wanted to do it or not. I believe Wolfman and I had a couple conversations about it, and even the guys I run with, Casey Ellsworth and Scott Hakes, in the morning on Sunday mornings, we talked about it, and then I thought, I don't know if I'll ever have this opportunity again. I was fortunate enough to get a bib from New Balance. They hand out racing. They can give bibs out to running stores in the New York area, and our running store happened to have one. And the owners said, asked me if I wanted it, and I was like, yeah, sure, I'll take it. So I mean, I might not be able to get the opportunity to run this again. So I was like, I'm just going to go up there and have fun.
Yeah.
And just enjoy it.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah. And then we got up in the Bronx, and then we came back down into Harlem, and we ran through Harlem until we got close to the Central Park. And then we entered Central Park, and that was a nice downhill part. That we entered in it's a hilly course. Wolfman, have you run New York?
No, I was going to do it one year with Murph and Rachel, and then I decided I wasn't training well enough, so I withdrew my entry.
So, of all of the majors, this is the most difficult course. There's a lot of hills, and more than just on the bridges, but there was a lot of hills.
Yeah. I would not have known that.
Yeah. So, and I was telling Doc Mosier the other day when I was in for a chiropractor appointment, and he's like, "Yeah, I wouldn't have thought of that." It's like, it's hilly. But when we got into Central Park, it was a nice downhill. But Fifth Avenue coming along Central Park was like this massive uphill, and it was like it felt like Mount Everest. I mean, it was like, and then we got into Central Park. It was a nice downhill, and then we came out of Central Park, and then we ran down to Columbus Circle, and then came back in, and then finished uphill at the finish. I passed the 400 meter to go, and it was like uphill from there. I'm like, well.
Does it finish in Central Park then?
Yes.
It does. Okay.
Yes, it does. Right off of Columbus Circle. Maybe 600 meters off of Columbus Circle in the Central Park. So, yeah. I tell you, it's a great way to see the city.
I bet. That sounds pretty wild.
Yeah.
I couldn't imagine finishing a marathon in an uphill. I finished a half marathon one time that had an uphill, and I thought that was terrible. Now you're telling me to double it and then finish on the uphill.
Yeah. Yeah. But even though there's that many people, the way they had it organized, like you were never like tripping over people or you know having to cut your stride to move around people. Like it was all pretty good. Like we had to take the logistics of getting to the start line are pretty complicated. But so I got over to the start line. I had to ride the ferry over to the start line and then jumped on the bus. And then they took us to the staging area. And then I was in the orange starting group, F Corral. And so it's a Coast Guard base is where they staged us at. And so, but they had Dunkin' Donuts was there. So you would have loved that. All right.
Yes, I would have.
They had done 50, and this is a challenge for you. 50,000 cups of coffee is what they were providing at the start line.
50,000 cups of coffee.
So there's a challenge for you. All right. I think you could do, but there was no sausage croissants though. That they didn't have those.
But now that's a bummer.
There's only one person looking for one of those.
Maybe they'd make a special arrangement.
Where they had bagels, they had like 40. There was like 40,000 bagels there. They had bananas, they had water, they had Gatorade endurance mix. So I found that spot and just kind of hung out till my group got called. But it was funny, like the PA system would come on and they're like, I was in wave 3. So they're like, all right, wave 2 is about to start. You're going to hear the cannon. That's just the start. Like they warn you. And it was just this loud. I mean, it was crazy loud. Boom.
Just a cannon, people.
So then they're like, okay, orange or wave 3, report to your corrals. So and then your clothing, they don't take anything back to the start line for you. Like whatever you wear, you leave there. They donate to homeless shelters. So I found a sweatshirt from I think it was a 2003 NTL championship, track and field championship that we had.
I've got one of those.
I didn't care if it fit. Like I just needed to get it. And then I found an old pair of sweatpants. And I took that, dumped all that stuff. It was beautiful. Like weather, you couldn't have asked for better weather. So they got us in. They marched us in. And then we waited once we got to our corral, we were standing there for at least a half hour. It might have even been 45 minutes until they actually moved us. So they moved us onto the bridge, and they just came on and said, "All right, starting in less than a minute. Wave 3 starting in less than a minute." And so we're just like staying around. All of a sudden, just like boom, this loud cannon goes, and they start playing Frank Sinatra, New York, New
Yeah, yeah.
York. We listened to that going across there. So that's how they
Wow.
started us. They started right on the Verrazano Narrow Bridge.
So
Beautiful. Go ahead.
how many waves did they do then?
There was 5 waves.
5 waves. Wow.
5 waves. Yeah. Yeah, and it was basically based on what you predicted, what you wrote down for your
Yeah.
finish time is what they put you in.
So now
how many e-bikes were there?
Oh yeah.
How many e-bikes? I didn't see all that go down, so I don't know. If you're talking about the Matt Troy thing,
yeah.
No, I didn't see any e-bikes on there, but there were parts on, like in Brooklyn. There were parts where it was like in Tour de France, where they get at the top of the hill and you only have enough room for like one person to pass. Like there were parts in Brooklyn where it was very difficult to pass.
That's what I imagine. That's why it would be a problem, is because there's very narrow places. There's lots of people. Like not like you mentioned, it was the biggest marathon, and also just the crowd, the volume of people in New York on any given day, let alone on a marathon day.
Right.
Crazy amount of people.
So so they had each wave had 3 different colors. They had blue, orange, and pink, and that determined where you started on the bridge.
Okay.
And so our wave did not get merged until about mile 8. So they kind of kept us separate. And then by mile 8, all 3 levels of our wave were merged together.
Because they start on the different levels of the bridge, right?
Yeah, there's 2. The orange and blue start on the top of the bridge, and pink starts on the lower deck.
I like how much of this you retained.
What's that?
I like how much of this you retained. You have like all the information. It's great.
I had read through it several times because I knew I heard horror stories about the logistics at the start. So and they send you email like 3 times a day, like here's the starting procedure, here's the starting procedure, and even at the expo they're like here's the starting procedure. So
it would be good to know this.
Seems silly, but I mean, people don't listen to it. Like that's how Disney was too. Like you got email after email after email, and people still would put on the blog, when does the expo end? You're on your own.
Yeah, I think that's a personality trait, and or if you like ran previously, like we all were college runners, and you really pay attention to a lot of that stuff because you've been lost or nearly lost, so you don't want any trouble on race day.
And I'm usually that person that doesn't pay attention. So this time I my daughter's she's assistant coach for me for track, and I tell her anytime we go to a meet or stuff like that, go to coach's meet, I said you need to pay attention. I said I'm not the responsible one of this pair.
Someone's got to be a parent here.
Yeah.
That's pretty good.
All right, so I have a game here. If you guys want to play a game,
let's do it.
I'm game.
Okay, all right.
I'll be your Huckleberry. Is that
all
what
right?
it is?
So, all right, the game is 2 truths and a lie.
Uh-oh.
All right, so this is about my experience with the New York City Marathon, and we'll just kind of see how it goes here. All right, statement number 1. I met someone in the hotel elevator that ran the Wineglass Marathon. All right, statement number 1. Statement number 2. The bridges with the views were my favorite part of the race. Number 3. I saw someone running in the marathon wearing Vibram 5 fingers.
Okay, so we have to pick the lie.
Yeah, which two are the truth and which one is the lie?
2 is the lie for me.
I say true lie.
All right, Maverick, you nailed it. I
Ah,
absolutely hate bridges. Everybody, and the Verrazano Narrow Bridge is like 2 miles long. Their first 2 miles is on this massive bridge. Like I was running like dead center, like on the median, like running right there. And there was at one point there was a DOT truck like blocking that, and I like had to swerve out around it. I was like, whew, that was a little nervous. I would glance a little bit over to see like the skyline of Manhattan, but like right back, and I'm like laser focused straight ahead. Like, whew, I'm not a big fan of bridges. And there's like 5 bridges on this race, and
It sounds like you should run Pittsburgh.
yeah.
yeah. The Queensboro Bridge was like so you come off of so you run through Brooklyn, you go into Queens, and then you cross the Queensboro Bridge into Manhattan. So it's just like lots of cheering and then silence on the Queensboro Bridge. And like I'm running, I look over to look like downtown Manhattan, then quick look back. It's like, but I was like right on the medium.
Let me ask you this: if you're a person that doesn't like driving on bridges, what's it like to run on the bridge? Then would that be like, are those people freaking out or what?
Well, I stayed center, so I was okay. I didn't really look off of it. I'm like,
Yeah.
find my happy place.
I was gonna say, like, there's probably people trying to like get near the edge to get a good view. There's probably people like hugging the middle.
Yeah, that's where I was hugging the middle. We one time we went down to the Outer Banks, and we drove across the Chesapeake Bridge tunnel.
Yeah,
we've done
And I mean, I had my tires, the driver's side tires, like I was on the white dotted line, like, or even like over it. And my wife, she's like, you don't have to drive on that line. I'm like, oh yes, I do.
I think we've driven down there actually together, Wolfman and I. But I've gone down there several times, and there's usually the comment that I get is, "Do you have to drive this fast?" And I'm like, "Well, I'm okay. You don't want to go slow."
I'm like three for three in making it across without going off the bridge. And the last time I actually passed somebody, and I said to my wife, I said, "There's somebody doing worse than I am right now because I'm passing them."
Yeah, it's a unique drive. Like if you're not used to that, it's surprising. Like the first time we went down there, I was like, "What is this? This is different." Up, down, in, out. Oh, tight.
A town near us, Laceyville. Wolfman knows what I'm talking about. So they have an open great bridge going across the Susquehanna. And the first time I ran across that, I'm like staying here would be far worse than keeping moving. It's like, just keep moving.
Yeah.
I'm not a big fan of it.
One time when I was a kid, there was a bridge that was closed, and we were like walking. I don't know. It was like my family, like my mom, my aunt, a few other cousins or whatever. And they're like, "Well, we have to turn around here. This bridge is closed." And I'm like, "No, it's fine. You just have to hold on to this, and you can walk across. Like, there's definitely like a spot you could walk across. It's no big deal." Well, I started walking across, and I was not that old. And this like crazy wind kicked up. I swear, like it was bizarre, and it was literally like knocking me off my feet while I was going across this bridge. And I was like, now I'm like freaking out because I'm small enough to be like shifted on this bridge, but it would have been fine if the wind wasn't there. Super dangerous with the wind. So yeah, I turned around and went back.
Well, I know where my fear of bridges comes from. Is my sister is afraid of bridges also. Like, so it came from Hurricane Agnes in 1972. So my grandfather, after the flood had gone through, I lived in southern part of Pennsylvania. That's where I grew up. And after the hurricane came through, my grandfather came over. He's like, "Let's go around and check out all the damage." And like we were driving around town, and like all these bridges are just like completely demolished. And I was just like, ever since then,
No, thank you.
Yeah, I guess it was a bad flood.
Yeah.
Unusually bad.
But I did meet somebody in the hotel elevator. I actually met him the morning before the marathon, and he was wearing a pair of Mizuno Nia Vistas. So I was talking to him about his shoes. And then later on in the day, we were in the marathon or in the elevator, and I had my wine glass quarter zip on. And he's like, "Hey, did you run that?" I said, "Yeah." He goes, "I ran it too." I'm like, "Oh, cool." I said, "What'd you think of it?" He goes, "I didn't like it." He goes, "You're like out in nowhere. Like there's nobody around." And I'm like, "Well, that's the way I'm used to running. I'm not sure I'm going to handle all these people here in the city."
Yeah.
But yeah,
that's funny.
And I ran with somebody for probably about 5-6 miles. He was wearing the Vibram 5 Fingers. And I'm like, I got to remember to tell Wolfman this.
Yeah. So I'm not the only one.
Yep.
Are you sure that wasn't a mirage?
Hallucinating?
No, because it was still pretty early. We were still in Brooklyn. So I wasn't hallucinating by then. So
it wasn't an optical illusion in the city.
I'm like, man, it's probably the only one. I think he got like first place wearing Vibram. First place finisher wearing Vibram 5 Fingers.
That should be an award.
It should be.
I would go with that one.
Yeah.
But you see all these people slipping them on in the last mile.
Yeah, you'd have to confirm they wore them the whole time somehow.
Yeah.
But that's pretty wild.
Yeah. That I'm having memories of that episode where we had the person that saw the school bus or was it the school bus or whatever? It was a school bus, wasn't it?
For what? Oh,
the hallucination they had during their ultra marathon.
It was a submarine in the.
Oh, submarine. That's right.
Where was it, Jim? Do you remember?
Say that again.
It was Ferguson. He saw that submarine. Where was it? I mean, it wasn't real, but
like 100 miles.
Oh, he hallucinated a submarine.
Yeah.
Was that on his the one across Tennessee?
Maybe. He's like telling the woman, like, "You won't believe what I just saw."
So I don't know if I told you this last time. If I did, just tell me to stop and you can edit it out. But so when I did Pikes Peak Ascent, a friend of mine, Kip Hoffman, Kip Wolfman, he was telling me when he ran his first 100-miler, he hallucinated that penguins were chasing him for about 20 miles. Okay?
Nope,
during his first 100-miler. So we're my son and I we're doing Pikes Peak ascent, and we're starting to get up where the air is thin, and we passed this aid station, and there was 2 women dressed up as nuns at the aid station, and so we get by there, we get our stuff. We keep going. I said to my son, I said, that's 2 nuns there, not 2 giant penguins, right? And he's like, "Yeah, it's 2 nuns." I said, "All right, let's keep going."
No, if those are 2 penguins, it's going to take 20 miles to shake them.
Yeah. Have you ever done an ultra, Jim?
On my Garmin, it was 26.4 something for both Wine Glass and for New York City. So, I mean, you guys did have this discussion about whether or not that would consider an ultra or not, but no, I haven't officially, and I really don't have interest in that.
See, Maverick. So it does stop at the marathon for some people.
Yes,
for some people, it doesn't even get to a marathon.
Well,
that's true.
10 miles seemed awful good.
I during the Wine Glass, I was thinking that, like, I got to the half marathon mark, and I'm like, that would have been nice, just to stop right there. But kept on going.
Yeah. If I see a couple penguins, I'm definitely stopping.
Not me. I'm trying to get away from them. Where there's penguins, there's polar bears.
Yeah, this is true.
Guys, I'm going to have to wrap it up there tonight, unfortunately. Okay. But Jim, it was great speaking with you and hearing your stories as always. Definitely need to have you on again because we're as always, we're just getting into the meat of things. But like I said, it was great hearing about your experience at New York. Obviously, I'd like to, like I said, ask you more about that. And what is, just before we go, what is your next one that you're?
So next one, I'm gonna run the Turkey Trot and Sayre. I used to do the Run for the Diamonds. That's just too much time commitment for Thanksgiving Day. So I'm gonna run the Turkey Trot and Sayre, and then I'm gonna do it's a Wonderful Life 5K. It's up in Seneca Falls. They have a big celebration of the movie. It's a Wonderful Life, and then they have a race where we start on the bridge where the movie takes place, whatever. And so I'm going to do that, but those just for fun. Like, awesome. I'm just want to get some consistent miles in and just keep showing up each day.
Awesome.
We just signed up for that 5K.
Which one?
It's a Wonderful 5K.
Oh, did you? It's great. There's like 5,000 people there. It's awesome.
That's awesome.
It really is.
I'm looking forward to it.
And watch the water stops, because some of them have Fireball and not water. So make sure you know what you're grabbing.
That's it. Well, Jim, thanks again. I really appreciate it.
Well, thank you for having me on. I really enjoy listening to you guys every week.
Thank you. Thank you,
Jim. Appreciate it. All right, Maverick and Wolfman running out.